It's an ordinary October morning at the British Library, the UK's vast national library filled with readers, researchers, and shelves of 170 million items. Inside, librarians and IT staff prepare for another day of helping the public explore centuries of knowledge. No one suspects a cyber intruder lurks in the shadows. First signs of trouble. By late October 2023, something strange started happening. On 28th October at 9:54 a.m., the library's official Twitter feed warned of technical issues affecting our website. Visitors found the free Wi-Fi acting up and the online catalog vanishing. The library even reopened after the weekend in what one reporter called a pre-digital state. No website, phones, ticket machines, or even interlibrary loans were working. For a world-class institution reliant on computers, it was a digital blackout. By 31st October, the British Library confirmed publicly that this outage was not just a glitch, but a cyber attack. Alarm bells rang. Was it a random glitch or a targeted hack? In a matter of hours, staff realized they were under siege from unseen hackers, the hidden intruders. In fact, cybersecurity experts now believe the Rhysida ransomware group had been lurking inside the library's systems for weeks, if not months. They likely slipped in through a virtual private network, VPN, a kind of secure remote tunnel that lets staff work from anywhere. Unknown to everyone, Rhysida was quietly roaming that VPN like an unseen intruder, searching every corner of the library's digital vaults. These attackers were patient, explains a cybersecurity analyst. They didn't smash down the front door. Instead, they crept in and set up camp, sifting through files. In fact, a researcher told The Guardian the hackers had been creeping undetected through the library's digital territory for months. Meanwhile, back at the library, tech staff noticed something was terribly wrong. On the morning of 28th of October, at EO 7:35, a member of the IT team couldn't log into the network. That simple failure triggered alarms. Within 2 hours, the library's crisis plan was activated and officials scrambled for help. Rhysida revealed, ransomware explored. The hackers behind the breach turned out to be Rhysida, a shadowy cybercriminal gang. Their tactics are called ransomware. Ransomware is a kind of malicious software. Imagine a digital mugger that locks or encrypts a victim's files and demands payment to unlock them. In simple terms, it's like someone holds the library's data hostage. The British Library's own report says Rhysida exfiltrated data, encrypted or destroyed substantial portions of our server estate, and forcibly locked out all users. In other words, files were stolen, many systems were scrambled or wiped, and staff couldn't use their own network. The hackers even left a ransom note. They were demanding 20 bitcoins, at that time about $596,000, to give back access and delete stolen data. Bitcoin is a digital currency often used in cybercrime because it's hard to trace. In effect, the hackers were saying, "Pay us or we keep your data." This is classic ransomware behavior. Stolen secrets. What they took. What exactly did Rhysida steal? The library's investigation found that attackers copied roughly 600 gigabytes of data, nearly 500,000 documents. This haul included personal details of staff and users, guards of the library's human resources files. They snagged scans of employees' passports and work contracts, hoping to entice someone to pay. In short, the hackers aimed to sell or extort any sensitive information they could find. Based on forensic analysis, the library identified 3 ways Rhysida copied the data. Full drive raid. They swept entire network drives belonging to core teams, finance, technology, HR, copying them wholesale, about 60% of the stolen files. Keyword sweep. They ran searches for sensitive words like passport or confidential, grabbing all matching documents even from staff home drives. This snatched another 40% of the files. Backup hijack. They turned built-in admin tools against the library, exporting backup copies of 22 databases, mainly email lists and contact info, and carrying them off. Remarkably, the library later confirmed that financial data, like credit card details, and its electoral roll remained encrypted and safe. But the personal data of staff and users was definitely at risk. Auctioned on the dark web instead of quietly unlocking the files for a single payment, Rhysida publicly flaunted their loot. On 20th November 2023, they claimed responsibility and even set up a week-long auction on a hidden forum. They offered 490,191 stolen files, personal staff info, HR records, and more to the highest bidder, with an opening bid of 20 bitcoins, about $596K. The gang boasted the data was exclusive, unique, and impressive. It was a chilling form of extortion, a cybercrime spectacle. When no one took the bait, on 27 November, Rhysida went further. They dumped 90% of the stolen data for free on the dark web. Nearly 600 gigabytes of the library's internal documents, employee records, HR files, and other potentially sensitive material were suddenly out in the open for anyone to grab. The British Library had refused to pay, and in response, the hackers tore down the curtain. "Here's your data," they seemed to sneer. "No ransom needed now." The library quickly alerted affected people and brought in the UK's Cyber Defence Agency, NCSC, for help. Users were advised to change passwords on other sites, if they had reused them, as a precaution. Locking the gate, MFA, and third-party access. How did Rhysida break in? Two key factors emerged: no multi-factor login on critical servers and a third-party access point. Multi-factor authentication, MFA, is like having two separate locks on a door. For example, a password and a code texted to your phone. Even if thieves steal your password, they still need that second code. The library's systems did have MFA for most cloud apps, but crucially, its internal server login did not, for cost and legacy reasons. As the report notes, the absence of MFA on the domain contributed to the attacker's ability to enter the system. In plain terms, once a hacker got a password, there was no second lock to stop them. That stolen password likely came from phishing, the cyber trick where criminals send fake emails or login prompts to phish for user credentials. Experts define phishing as a scam, aiming to trick you into giving up passwords or other sensitive info. With just one set of stolen credentials and no MFA on the server door, the hackers could wander through the network. Even more, investigators suspect the entry point was an account belonging to a contractor, a third-party credential. In this case, the library had a terminal services server set up for COVID-era remote work that let outside consultants log in. The report says the breach was most likely caused by the compromise of third-party credentials. In everyday terms, it's as if the library had given a key to an external IT helper and the thieves stole that key. Once inside using that account, the hackers hopped from server to server, exploiting the trust in a third-party login. These points explain why a museum, a library, or any organization can be at risk even if the main staff's passwords are strong, if external accounts aren't secured by MFA, or if staff fall for a phishing email. Criminals can slip right in. The aftermath and recovery. In the weeks that followed, the British Library was effectively on its knees. Physically, the buildings stayed open, but almost all digital services were down. Researchers could enter the reading rooms, but catalogs, online searches, even basic computer terminals were useless for a time. By mid-January 2024, the library announced a small victory. The main online catalog, 36 million book and journal records, was back up, but only in a read-only form. Users could search it, but couldn't order or reserve items as before. The library's CEO, Sir Rowley Keating, called it a quietly good day and said full recovery would be slow. On BBC Radio, Keating made clear he would not pay the ransom. good practice is never to pay money to criminals. That's an easy decision to make. The library continued working with police and data regulators. A formal inquiry with the Information Commissioner's Office was launched, as required by law, when personal data leaks happen. Behind the scenes, engineers began the rebuilding process. The attackers had deliberately destroyed servers to hide their tracks. So much hardware had to be replaced from scratch. Thankfully, the library had backups of its collections, meaning the digital scans of books and its digitized materials were safe. But without working servers, even those backups couldn't be used yet. The incident has cost many millions. The Financial Times reported the library would spend about $7 million, so nearly 40% of its reserves, on the cleanup. Staff and users endured a nerve-wracking interruption of research and learning. A modern library without its computers is nearly unthinkable. Lessons learned and looking forward. By early 2024, the British Library published a candid report on what happened and what others can learn. Key takeaways include: put MFA on everything, all internet-facing logins, segment networks so an intruder can't roam freely, and practice what-if drills so staff know what to do when a worst case happens. They also emphasize sharing information. A cyberattack on one museum is a warning to all museums. The British Library found that even its accredited security posture had gaps, often due to older legacy systems. They urge all institutions to invest boldly in cybersecurity. As their report warns, the cost of prevention is far less than the damage of an attack. For the public, the lesson is personal too. Phishing scams and password reuse are everyday risks. The library itself recommended affected users change any passwords on other sites if they had reused them. And experts emphasize use strong, unique passwords and enable two-factor login wherever you can. Conclusion: protecting our digital treasures. The British Library attack was a dramatic wake-up call. If even the nation's largest library can be brought down by cybercrime, what about schools, local libraries, hospitals, or businesses? Every institution with computers is a potential target. It's easy to feel vulnerable, but there is power in preparedness. Ask yourself, are your accounts locked with two-factor authentication? Do you keep backups of important data? Are you cautious about suspicious emails? As this story shows, a sophisticated attack can cast a cloud over an entire institution, but it can also teach us, let the British Library's ordeal be a reminder to all of us. In our everyday online lives, vigilance and simple safeguards, an extra login step, a cautious click, a strong, unique password, can keep the lights on for our own corner of the digital world. Cybersecurity isn't just a technical issue, it's a shared responsibility. Whether you're protecting ancient manuscripts or family photos, remember, every click is a choice, and good habits are our strongest defense.